Uh, this is the agenda for the bootcamp. Day one, we will cover the web development insights, where we are going to cover the what is the web development, what is the importance of the web development, are the different roles in the web development, like front end development, back end development, full stack development. In day two, we will cover basic of HTML, build the basic HTML pages, learn the HTML tags. In day three, we will deep dive in the CSS, cascading style sheet, and what is the responsive design, what are the CSS classes, CSS IDs, and etc. Day four, we will learn the JavaScript basics, and we will learn the basic syntax of JavaScript, basic features of JavaScript. And day five, we will explore the front end and back end developments basics, and navigate through the different CMSs frameworks and different roles and the web developments. And of course, at the end, we will take some questions and I will answer of the question.
Okay, sir.
So let me do one thing. So this course is basically the fundamental of web development with HTML5, CSS3, and JavaScript. Mostly HTML5, CSS, CSS3, and JavaScript. You can say that, and a bit about what is jQuery, what are the different JavaScript frameworks like React, Angular, and Node, etc. So in 5 days, we will cover all the aspects of a journey from scratch to full stack development, where people will have a clear idea what is the front end development, what is the back end development, and what is the full stack development, and what which way they can proceed based on their interest.
Okay, sir.
So basic objective of this boot camp, I have already explained the importance of the web development. What is the difference between web designer and web developer? And of course, what is the front end and back end web development? And HTML, CSS, and JavaScript overview, different JavaScript frameworks, jQuery, React, and we will go through some advanced topics which we can cover in between 5 days. And as you know, in 5 days, this all things cannot be covered. So we will cover the basics of all the things which can be done in this 5 days.
Okay.
So importance of the web development. So what is the importance of the web development? In today's internet technology, you can say that almost every have a smartphone. Almost 6 out of 10 guys have a laptop, and they interact through the internet in various means.
Various ways, sir.
So the importance of the web development, first thing is everything is on web. It's accessible through mobile and desktop. Everything which is on internet or which is on web can be accessible through web, mobile and desktop. And another important aspect of web development is another importance is your reachability increased, your accessibility increased. Through the web you can go from local to global. Suppose you have a business, you are a service provider, or you have business. If you create your own website, the users or customers which needs that particular service or which use that particular business services can reach you through the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So, and another aspect is having a website, having a web, build your credibility on the market, build your reputation on the market. Because nowadays, if anyone tell us, I am doing this, I am doing this, anyone, in case of anyone, then first thing we ask them, where, what is your website? If anyone is going to offer their services to us, most of the time, first thing we ask them, what is your website?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Exactly.
yeah, so your website is your first round the clock salesperson. And
Mm-hmm.
because of the revolution of technology, offline marketing is going to back end, uh, going to the back office, you can say that.
Exactly.
70% business doing the digital marketing. And for the
Mm-hmm.
digital marketing, they must have a website. So
Mm-hmm.
your website is your first round of clock of salesperson. Because in offline things, person should have to go visit particular centers, particular offices, particular customers time to time. And office times are limited.
Mm-hmm.
But your website works for you 24 by 7. You are sleeping, but your website is working for you. People are searching for you. So this is the one of the most important aspect of web development. So the website creates the first impression of your business. Nowadays, website is your digital identity. You can say that you are digital. Your website is your digital identity, and simply that clones your personality, your characters, your services, whatever you do. Basically, website clones everything in a digital world. So create it to the needs of your target audience. Basically, website is mostly uh, I told you that it is for the digital marketing, expanding your business globally. So through the website or the website landing pages, you can target your audience globally. You can and you don't have to send the offline guys to door. Simply one website can achieve everything.
Mm-hmm.
And not and also geographical area is also not bounded. You can do wherever you want throughout the globe.
Mm-hmm.
You can do the SEO for particular location, SEO for particular country, SEO for throughout the globe, where you think your target audience is based on. So and it's another thing is it reflects your expertise and reputation. As I
Mm-hmm.
told you, basically website close you digitally. Simply, websites clones you digitally. You are physical world and website is your digital world.
Yes, sir.
Website have everything about you, what you do, what you did,
Mm-hmm.
what you are doing, and what you will do.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a team, how many members are you in team, what service you're providing, and everything. It reflects every aspect of you or your business digitally.
Mm-hmm.
And I also mentioned can bring business from any part of the world. You can attract customer, your target audience from globally, from any part of the world globally throughout the website. Call to action. Call to action encourage the users to get you business. Call to action
Mm-hmm.
is nothing just a button simply on a landing page, which encourage the user to take an appropriate action. It may be filling a form, it may be making a payment, it may be anything.
Mm-hmm.
You need web development skills to create a website simply. So basically, this is our code boot camp. We are also running our no code boot camp where we are taking the people in who don't know the code or we don't have technical knowledge, who don't are tech savvy guys. So that are no code boot camp where we uh, teach them how to create a website without writing a single line of code. And this is the website with code, basic of web development.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take a journey to the world of web development, a journey through web development. Let's go. But first, a little bit about the web. What is web? Let's first understand what is web. Actually, what is the web? So what happens when you type a URL and hit enter?
Mm-hmm.
So most of the times, people come through the search engines, come through the internet, and most of the times they hit a URL. Most of the time they hit a URL. Like I am here, and every whatever we are going to search, I am going to search web development. So every time user and hits a URL. So this part is URL. So every time you just search something, user surfing something throughout the internet, each of the time they hit a URL. So what happened once user hit the URL? What happened? So let's understand what happens once user hit the URL. Let's say Alice made this fantastic web page that she wants to share with the world. Like simply, this is a web page. Suppose that, and it's showing hello world. So what Alice do? What Alice? She puts the code for her web page on a computer that's always running. This computer serves her page whenever a client computer requests it. I mean, Alice created a web page or a website. She puts her code on a computer that's always running, and that is known as server. So this is the computer which is always running, and Alice puts all of web pages, all of website code here. And once a client requests it, this computer serves the web page to the client. So whenever we hit enter, we hit an URL. Basically, that web page come from a server, come from a computer which is always running. In case of client, we can say that we hit URL, we search something, so we are the client. In technical terms, actually browsers are the client because browsers are requesting a URL and requesting a server to serve that URL data.
Yes, sir.
And in case of server, there are hostings, database servers, application servers, web servers, many more things. In case of clients, you and your browser, you and your medium simply, to which you are hitting a URL, through which you are entering a URL, through which you are searching something. So whenever a client hits a URL, that URL data is served by a server. So we can also say that this internet thing is, this website is a client server architecture. Because every time someone hits a URL and information goes back to them, goes back to him or her.
Yes, sir.
But that information is resides inside a computer
Server.
which is always running, and that is server simply. So all computers and how information convey between the client server. Mostly, the postal post office things. If they had to convey some postcards or etc, they need an address from and to, which are sending to whom he or she is sending. Correct? So all computers have an address called an IP address. Think of it as a mailing address of computer simply. So all computers have an address called an IP address. And server have its own IP address, and local computers have default IP address 127.0.01, and every computer connected to internet have an IP address. The server could also have a domain name that correspond to its IP address. Server also have a domain name like google.com that corresponds to IP address, because remembering the number is complex. Remembering the IP address is complex
Yes,
because
sir.
IP address consists of country code and TCP/IP, many other things.
Mhm.
But remembering a simple text is easy. So there is another thing, domain name, which correspond to IP address. Whenever you hit some domain like google.com, yahoo.com, ibm.com, something, that points to a particular IP address, and data from that server comes to the client end. There. So simply think this thing, simple post office thing. To send anything, they need an address. And address from and to, simply. So this is the same thing. Every uh, computer in the now we are talking about client and server. Client is your local computer, your browser, and you. Server means
Mm.
everything which are on internet and resides somewhere on the mainframes, on the uh, server data centers, and many more things are there. So everything have an IP address, that is their unique address, and there is a domain name which belongs to a particular IP address. Once we hit a domain name, that points to that particular IP address, and that sends data back to client. So this happens whenever a particular user or client hits a URL or search something. In the technically, every time they hits a URL, doesn't matter they are searching something, they are searching something, whatever they are doing on the internet, every time they are hitting a URL. So once they are hitting URL, a request goes to server, and server, based on the request, server sends data back to the client. So this is the basic. So when you type in a domain name from your computer, you are making a request to a server that with that corresponding address. So simply, once you are typing some domain name, and then that is the simply request from that particular server, and you can say that like I am typing google.com here. Did you see at the top left corner? Yes, yes. And you can also see where is data from coming. This mostly advanced thing which used by develop network. Once you hit a URL, this, these are the things which are fetched by the server. These are the response getting by the server. So these are the advanced things, and you will understand once you have a basic idea of web development, and once you go through the how to debug the things, how debug the code, how debug the endpoints, then you can understand these things. So every time, if you notice, once you hit URL, on the top left, something happens. For a little, this, this, sorry, this, this. You see on the green, this is the response coming from the server. Once we hit the URL, this is coming from the server. So this happens once user hits a URL or search something on the internet. Client requests something through the URL, and server sends response back to the client. Like, I would like to request this web page, please. So you can test by yourself by hitting something, google.com, ibm.com, microsoft.com, whatever, and you will see something on the left, top left, bottom left corner. There some text or some alphanumeric things and some URLs are coming back. So those are the responses there. And you can also check
Sorry,
on
sir.
your, yep.
मीटिंग लेफ्ट हो गई थी एक्चुअली my phone was not responding.
Okay. No worries.
From tomorrow I'll use my laptop.
Yeah, sure. Most of the time you should use your laptop because in phone you can't understand everything. You can
Yes, sir.
listen maybe, but you can't see everything properly and you can't understand the things properly. Even if you are going to learn code, then you should join with a laptop.
Mm-hmm.
So conclusion is, once we enter a URL or a domain name, request goes to server, and server send response back to client. Like we are sending something, this is going to server, and server is sending response to the client. So these things happen behind the scene once we hit any URL on the web. So after all, the client computer is then able to view the web page, and then client or client computer is able to view the web page. Every time when we search something, like we are searching our company website, like ashramtech.com. Once we hit, request goes back to our server, server send response back to us, then we will see this website. So you can see that this is a web page, and all the files, all the codes, all the everything behind the scene, whatever things are, they are inside a computer that is always in and known as server simply. So and for to see every request comes back from the server, we need a browser, because without browser we can't see a web page. To see a web page, we always need a browser. So most of the time people use Google Chrome. So you can see that particular action by using Google Chrome. You will hit URL and you will get a response and see the things whatever you're looking for. So hosting a website, this is the basic concept to host a website. What is the website? Basically HTML pages, or maybe simply we are talking about simple websites. So maybe HTML pages, maybe dynamic websites, so PHP pages, JavaScript pages, whatever in you use to write your website. But HTML, CSS must be there because these are the basic of web development. These are the core of web development, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Because your browser don't understand anything apart
Hi,
from
Shankar.
HTML. Your browser only understands HTML. So HTML will always be there. So you have a website, and website will be hosted in a web server, and web server should be Apache, Nginx, IIS, or Internet Information Servers, whatever. And there will be an web application server. Like there are some tools like developers are using nowadays: Visual Studio Code, Sublime Text, Atom, and there are the network technologies and IT software technologies like HTML, HTTP, TCP protocols, behind the scene operating system, Windows, Mac OS on your client end, and HTML, HTTP, TCP/IP protocol, basically networking protocol, and HTTP is the basically header sent by the server, and HTML we are going to learn basically the browser which understand the HTML. So browser only understand HTML. That doesn't matter your website is static or dynamic. It's only understand HTML. Even you write your website on PHP, ASP, JSP, but response comes in HTML format already. So like this website is, if you can see the code, you can only see the HTML because browser don't understand apart from HTML. So everything you will see is HTML. So HTML is the core of web development. Without HTML, there is nothing in the web. So basically now we are moving to what is the web development. So building sites and applications for the World Wide Web. World Wide Web simply www, triple W, whatever you heard this thing many times. Maybe you heard this thing many times. www. www simple World Wide Web, simply collection of web pages throughout the internet. Simply you can say that it's the uh, bunch of web pages, collection of web pages, word of web pages. This is called World Wide Web. Inside internet, everything is web pages. That is internet, also synonymously used World Wide Web. So everything you look on the internet by every other means, like you searching from the browser, you searching from any apps or something else. In the internet, everything is a web page. So this is the basic thing. Developers write code that describes what is shown in the browser. What is shown in the browser means what you can see, what end user can see. Once you hit the URL, what you will see, or what end user can see, or what client will see. That is front end development, and also known as the client side code or client side scripting. And what should be sent to the browser? That is backend, server side or backend, server side code or server side scripting. So in case of front end, we can say that your HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and browser. These are client side technologies, or tools to use in the front end development. In case of, you can see backend development, every server side scripting language like PHP, JSP, ASP, Python, they are the backend language. So they are also known as server side scripting and any backend development language, etc. So whatever users see, that is the front end, and what user cannot see and only handled by the server, that is backend. So everything you can see easily on the browser, that is front end, and things you cannot see, that is backend. But that backend thing actually process your request. That backend thing actually take request from your browser or client end and send to the server, convey to the server, and get response back from the server and sent to the client. So these all are things handled by the backend. In front end, only you can see the things. So whatever UI, UX, whatever the things you are seeing at the on the browser, those are the front end, and whatever things you are not able to see but handled by servers on the back end, that was the back end. So here the difference between the web designer and web developer. Web designer simply you can how can we relate this thing? In case of website, how your website should look like. So basic blueprint, a basic design of that website, basic design including all the design assets is handled by the web designer. Simply the person who mostly handle the graphics things, who handle the Photoshop designs, who handle the Canva designs, who handle the Figma designs, who create sketch of website, who create an sketch of website, who create an UI UX of website. Those are the web designers who basically create the visual mock-ups of the website. How that means in this way your website should look like. So they are the web designers. And the person who implement that mock-up and make live in the internet or the web developer. Simply in case of if you in the real world, if you can relate that, if you are going to build a home, first you have a design of that particular home done by some civil engineers or something. So that's similarly in the website, that's the blueprint is done by the designer, the person who uh, do that kind of stuff is known as the web designer, and person who built the actual website is the web developer. Web designer don't have any coding knowledge, while web developers must have coding skills like CSS, JavaScript, React, Node. Mostly web designers are the right brain person, or you can say creative person, and web developers are left brain person or simply logical person. So you can see that designers simply design the UI and UX of a website or web app. That means how that website, that particular website will look like, and web developer will implement that particular mock-up or particular design into the live or into the real world. So these are the basic difference between the web designer and web developer. So to gain a web development skills, you have learn web development skills to become a web developer. So these are the basic things which a particular web designer and web developer should learn. These are the skill set or tools differentiated by the classification of web developer and web designer. So in case of web designer, you can say Photoshop, Illustrator, UI, branding, typography, UX, illustration, design, print, design, etc. So, and in case of web developer, you can say most of things are the language, programming language, coding language, scripting language, whatever language, Ruby, Angular, HTML, CSS, PHP, Python, JavaScript, Swift, WordPress, Android, tools and language. So mostly web designer are creative person which are non-coder. They use the graphics tools to create the UI and UX of the website or web app. And web developers are the logical person who use any language, maybe programming language, maybe scripting language, to implement that particular mockup to life. So here are some clarification about front-end and back-end web development. Front-end web development define component of the page with HTML. So we are talking about web development in this series. So let's a web developer can be a front-end developer, can be a back-end developer, can be a full stack developer. So what front-end developer do, what the area of front-end development, front-end web development, define the components on the page with HTML, make them look pleasing with CSS, enable interactivity with JavaScript, enhance productivity with use of frameworks. So everything which user will see are handled by the front-end developer. Everything every components, how the page look like, how the color, fonts of that particular elements look like, how the interaction between the component will look like, how the events will handle. These are things handled by the front-end developer. So mostly client-side things are handled by the front-end developer. And back-end developer create the page components and content dynamically on the web server. Send the HTML, CSS, JavaScript to the web server used by end user. Generate pages by programming in Java, JavaScript, PHP, Perl, Python, Ruby. Aim to achieve fast response time to end users. Chakas, you are raising hand, I think.
Yes, sir.
So in this bootcamp, mostly we focus on the web development part, front-end development part, because back-end development part is cannot be completely covered within 5 days. But front-end part, most of these things can be covered. But we will see how we can be full stack, how we can be back-end, how we can be advanced level front-end, some kind of things. We cover every aspect for the journey from scratch to full stack, but actually programming will not be covered, especially backend. So for this very first session, we are going to be focusing on the basics of front-end. Backend is for the next game, as I explained already. So foundation of front-end developments are HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Simply as I already mentioned you, these are the core of any website. These are the pillar, you can say, pillar of any website. Without these three things, there is no website, simply. Because web development starts from HTML and ends from the end to the backend or server side, whatever. So the HTML, CSS, JS means JavaScript. So yes, I think we did for today. And if you have any more questions, you can ask. So tomorrow we are going to cover HTML basics, and this is an basic overview of HTML is JavaScript. HTML basically hypertext markup language. You can say basically structure of your page. If you can relate your body, so bone structure is HTML. Simply basic structure is HTML. And JavaScript, you can say JavaScript is basically for events or interactivity. So if you have a body with skins, then that is JavaScript. And CSS is basically cosmetic things, making things beautiful. Cascading style sheets, basically this is presentations. So HTML basically content, CSS is presentation, and JavaScript is event. So you can relate this thing, and even you can relate this thing to building a home or house or building. Simply initially they have only bricks like structure, and after that we do some plaster of things, and then we do some denting, painting, etc. So basically, we can relate these things. Tomorrow, this is day number 2, and we will cover what is the HTML, different tags of HTML, and